Have you ever held a simple axe and wondered, what if there was no factory to make this? No electricity, no steel mill, no machines humming in the background? Could you still make one with just your hands, fire, and time? Welcome to the Ottoman Empire, a world without modern tools, yet filled with tools. In this video, we'll uncover how Ottoman blacksmiths and craftsmen made essential tools like saws, pickaxes, and axes without electricity, motors, or mass production. And by the end, you might be wondering, could I make one at home? In today's world, we're surrounded by convenience. Need a saw, order one online, want a pickaxe, it's mass-produced, cheap, and waiting on a shelf. But 300 years ago, if you wanted a tool, you didn't buy it, you made it. Or you knew someone who could. And that someone was usually an Ottoman demirci, a blacksmith. So let's start with the axe. In Turkish, balta, a simple tool with ancient power. Ottoman axes weren't made in factories, they were born in flames. A blacksmith would start with a chunk of iron, often recycled from old tools or weapons. This iron was heated in a charcoal forge, bellows blowing air to raise the temperature. At over 1000 degrees Celsius, the iron would glow like the sun. Then came the shaping. Using only a hammer, anvil, and centuries-old techniques, the blacksmith would beat the metal into form, layering, folding, and hammering until it was both strong and flexible. Some would weld a thin piece of high-carbon steel to the edge, an early form of hybrid blades. The result? A tough axe that could chop wood, cut bone, and outlast generations. Now, the pickaxe, or kazma, this wasn't just for mining. Farmers used it, builders relied on it, and soldiers even modified it for digging fortifications. Kazma heads were often heavier than axes and designed to withstand impacts on stone and clay. The process? Similar to the axe, but with adjustments in shape, balance, and weight. Handles were made from local hardwood like oak or walnut, steamed and bent to fit. And now, for the most complex of them all, the saw, or as the Ottomans called it, testere. You might think, no way they made saws without machines, but they did. First, they would forge long, flat strips of iron, carefully hammered to a uniform thickness. Then, the teeth were hand-filed, each one individually, using a chisel and stone file. Imagine the patience. The spacing had to be even, the angle just right. It took days, but the result was a handmade saw that worked beautifully on greenwood, bone, or even soft stone.
You may wonder, how did they make these tools so strong without modern steel? The secret was experience, passed down through generations. Ottoman blacksmiths didn't just follow recipes, they read the fire. They listened to the hammer, they smelled the iron. It was a form of embodied knowledge that modern machines can't replicate. Let's not forget the handles. These weren't afterthoughts. Ottoman craftsmen chose wood not just for strength, but for comfort and flexibility. Some even wrapped grips in rawhide or cloth to absorb sweat. Each handle was shaped by hand, carved to fit the tool and the person who would wield it. Now imagine this. No electricity, no factory, just a forge, some iron, a hammer, and your own two hands. Could you do it? If you're enjoying this video, don't forget to like and subscribe. We're reviving forgotten knowledge, one skill at a time. Back to the tools. One reason Ottoman hand tools lasted so long is because they were repaired, not thrown away. A cracked axe head? Re-weld it. A broken handle? Carve a new one. The concept of disposable didn't exist. Tools were valued, maintained, inherited. That's something we can learn from today. When a modern tool breaks, we toss it. But what if we learned to fix it? What if we learned to make it, not just for nostalgia, but for independence, for sustainability? Let's compare. A modern saw is fast, cheap, replaceable. But the handmade Ottoman tester? It was slower to make, but more respected. It taught patience, skill, mindfulness, a connection between human and tool that we've mostly lost today. And here's the thing. You can still make these. There are tutorials, old books, even living blacksmiths carrying this tradition. You don't need a time machine to learn Ottoman craftsmanship, just time and a little curiosity. So what did we learn? We learned that the absence of modern machinery doesn't mean the absence of mastery, that a tool is not defined by the factory that made it, but by the hands that shape it and the mind that understands it. The Ottomans lived in a world without drills, bandsaws, or angle grinders. But they didn't wait for technology to catch up. They worked with what they had. Fire, metal, and wisdom passed down from one generation to the next. They read the glow of the forge like we read a screen. They listened to the hammer strikes like we listen to a podcast. They felt the weight of the blade and knew whether it needed one more pass, one more fold, or one final quench.
They weren't just making tools. They were making trust. A good axe could mean a warm home. A strong pickaxe could mean a successful harvest. A sharp saw could build a shelter. These tools weren't just metal and wood. They were survival. They were security. They were legacy. But more importantly, we learned that you don't need to be born in the 1600s to think like an Ottoman blacksmith. You can start today. No forge? Use a fire pit. No anvil? A steel rail. No teacher? The world is full of forgotten books, quiet videos, and maybe even a local elder who still remembers. And here's the part no one tells you. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to try. Your first handle will be crooked, your first blade might chip, your first saw may barely cut, but you'll be one step closer to self-reliance, to understanding what it means to create something that lasts, something made not by a machine, but by you. And what if you never use these tools for survival? What if you just learn for the sake of learning? Then you've already won, because every skill you gain is one less dependency. Every cut you make by hand is one more thread in a connection to your ancestors, and every mistake is a lesson they too once made. You're not just crafting tools, you're crafting character. So now I ask you again, if tomorrow the lights went out, the stores closed, and machines stopped, would you panic? Or would you reach for the hammer, the chisel, and the skills you've kept alive? Let us know in the comments below. What would be the first tool you'd try to make with your own hands? And if this video sparks something in you, an idea, a curiosity, maybe even a bit of courage, hit that like button. Subscribe for more forgotten knowledge made practical again. Because this isn't just history, it's preparation. Until next time, stay curious, stay hands-on, and stay rooted in skills that outlast the grid.